Okay, hey, hi, hello. It is my birthday. I am 27 today, and I found this list that I wrote when I was 21. So I wrote it in 2017, and it was my 30 before 30 list. So 30 things I want to do before I'm 30. Not a new concept. I appreciate that. But I read through it and I was astounded at how many of the things I wrote then that I have ticked off. And so I've decided that every year now until I'm 30, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna read through my list, make a new list. But I wanna share with you the list, the 30 things that I wrote that I wanted to do before I'm 30. Some of them are hilarious, some of them are embarrassing. Let's go through them. Okay, so this is so embarrassing that honestly, I think there's something so confronting about people reading and like seeing the inner workings of your mind. You'll see. I think we're just gonna laugh our way through this. This is gonna be so fun. Okay, so 30 things I want to do before I'm 30, 2017 or 21 years old edition. Okay, the first one, we're starting off easy. We're starting off with a big old tick, and the first thing was read a book a month for 1 year. I was obviously not reading a lot, to be honest, because it was so long ago. I don't fully remember writing this list, so I'm gonna talk as if I kind of know what was going on in my mind, or I'm gonna kind of speculate about what was going on in my mind. I obviously wasn't reading enough and I wanted to, so I set that goal for myself. 100% I have done this. Last year, I think I made a note, I read like 23 books last year, so that's definitely more than one a year. I don't think I've read that many books this year so far. I'm definitely reading more than one book a month. So 21-year-old Polly, don't you worry, we are gonna get back into our reading hype, and you love your reading more than anything now. Number two, I love this so much. Number two, this is so cute. Start an online business or a project I'm passionate about. If I could tell that girl in Australia who had no fucking idea what she wanted to do with her life and was so scared that she would never do anything, was so scared she was gonna have to go home back to England and get a regular, or not regular, I don't wanna say that because in like a demeaning way, but was gonna have to go back and get a 9 to 5 job or go back to the job that she was working at before, which was a receptionist in a gym. And she just did not want to do that at all. That was probably her worst nightmare. And she wanted to do the online thing. I don't know why I'm saying she, like it's not me. So at this point, I had just this was probably the first time I'd ever really used Instagram, or this was the first time that I remember seeing people actually use Instagram for business. So around this time, I was learning about Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, and Jenna Kutcher. They were my three people and Angie Lee. So none of these people I massively follow anymore, but at that point, they were like my introductions into people who were using the internet to do cool things and to build careers. That for me was absolutely mind-blowing. I used to lay on the beach and just listen to podcasts of Tony Robbins and Angie Lee talking about marketing and how people use the internet to make their lives better and run businesses. And I was like, damn, that's what I want to do, which is so cool reading this back now, that this was always a goal for me, even back in 2017, like that was where it kind of started. And look at this now. I'm entering this is like my 4th year doing this kind of freelance online business, make it on your own thing. And what's really cool is, I'll let you in on a little secret. I have been trying to pivot into kind of a different area, trying lots of different styles of content, trying to figure out which direction I want to go in. And so I haven't really, on paper, this has been kind of like a flop failure year in terms of my career. It definitely hasn't been linear. Like the past few years, I made a lot of money in my business and it was very successful. And that's great. And I could have continued to do that. This is kind of an unrelevant tangent. Maybe I'll take this out. But I could have finished doing that, but I just realized that I wanted to try lots of different things before I settled on one thing. And back in 2020, when I started this online business thing, I just kind of followed whatever I thought would make me money. I ran my business solely to make money and to sustain myself and sustain the life that I wanted to live, and I managed to do that. But then I got to this point where I was like, okay, I've kind of just been following whatever felt like it could continue to make me money. What do I actually want to do? And so this year has been my what do I actually want to do year. And because of that, I've been making much less money. And to be honest, I've been feeling quite down on myself and lots of insecurity has been coming up and lots of self-worth things like, am I good at this? Why am I not making money? should I be doing something else? Why don't I just do something that I know is going to make me money? And so lots of self-doubt around myself as a business owner and a self-employed person, a freelancer, has been coming up. Lots of fear and self-doubt. Anyway, long story long, it's really cool to read this and see that the only goal that I had in 2017 was just to start an online business and to start a project that I'm passionate about. And I can so fully, like with my whole chest, say that I've done that. And that's really nice to see. Like, I think we judge ourselves so much and we get so hard on ourselves in the moment, not appreciating or taking a moment to step back and realize that so much of what we're doing now, even if it's not where we want to be fully, because I don't think we'll ever be where we want to be fully, but so much of what we wanted 5 years ago, or in this case 6 years ago, has come true. And so anyway, that was a really long one. I promise they won't all be like that, but that's a really cool thing to witness, and I'm really glad that I've read that now because, yeah, like I said, I have been down on myself about that, and I've been doubting myself a lot, whether I'm doing the right thing, trying to branch out into different creative projects, but that's kind of affirmation that I am doing the right thing because that was a big old tick. Okay, number 3 was live in a car/van in Australia. I absolutely did that. I lived in my car in Australia actually very soon after this. So that was obviously a very quick manifestation. Yeah, lived in my car for 3 months, traveled the east coast of Australia. So tick that off. Okay, the 4th one, and this is the first one that I haven't done, is visit Hawaii. For some reason, I wanted to visit Hawaii. I think when I started traveling, I had this list of loads of places I want to go. And I've been very fortunate that I've been able to go to a lot of those places, and I've been to lots of incredible places. And what I've realized is it's less about the place and more about basically everything else. The intention behind it, why you're going, the people that you're around, the energy that you bring to it. And I think there are exceptions to this. For example, Antarctica. Antarctica was a place that you go for the place. But I think a lot of the countries that I now go to, it's less about the country and more about what I think the country will allow me to do and what parts of myself I'll be able to express in that country, the people that I'll be able to meet, who I'll be able to be, like what parts of myself I'll be able to connect with, and what I can get from being in that country versus just the country itself. And so I'm becoming less and less attached to going to different places and just trying to connect with more like, okay, what do I want next and what country is the best place for me to go to experience that. Okay, number 5 is go on a girls' family holiday. I'd never done this before. Like me and my family, like my mum and my sisters had never been on holiday. I did do this last year. Me and my mum and my twin sister went to Greece, and we're also going on a family holiday in a few weeks' time. We're going to Spain. Unfortunately, my younger sister did not come, but I am going to take that off because we did go on girls' family holidays. Okay, number 6. Okay, this is the best one. When I read this, I literally couldn't believe it. Number 6 is to see Taylor Swift live. Obviously, if you follow me on Instagram, I haven't, well, to be honest, okay, I have seen Taylor Swift before. I saw her at the Radio 1 Teen Awards in, I don't know, when I was like 15 maybe, but I want to see her live, like on her own in concert. That was this, so I don't count that. What makes me so excited is, obviously this is staying on the list, but this time, next year, when it comes to my birthday, I will be able to tick this off, and that makes me more excited than anything else on this list, probably. That is a huge one, and I just love that that happened to make the list, so obviously that is going to carry forward onto my list for next year. Number 7 was do a month waste-free, and I actually did this in New Zealand. I lived for, I don't know how long it was, 6 months to a year. Definitely plastic free and probably 90% waste free. So I'm gonna give that a big old tick. Very happy about that. And that was a cool experience. Number 8, do my yoga teacher training. I haven't done this yet and this is still on my list. I think I would like to do this in India, and not because I want to be a yoga teacher. I don't think I would ever actually teach yoga, but I think it would be a really cool way to deepen the practice. I love yoga. I first got into yoga in Thailand and then have just periodically returned to it. Mexico, I got really into it. I think it is just such an incredible practice. I do yoga 3 or 4 times a week at the moment, and yeah, I would just love to go and do my 200-hour yoga teacher training, deepen my practice, learn more about myself, more about the practice. And I think doing it in India, where it's kind of originated would be really, really cool. So that will continue to be on my list. Wait, I'm taking these off as we go. Okay, number 9, this is so cute because 21-year-old Polly had no idea what was in store for her. It was rent somewhere to live. That is so cute. So I'd never rented anywhere to live before. I'd lived with my mum, then I went traveling and I was living in hostels. And then when I wrote this, I was au pairing in Australia, so I was living with the family. But in my mind, I really wanted to rent somewhere, whether it was on my own or with friends. And I just thought that would be really cool. And the fact that that is on my list now, and I've done that so many times, probably, I would say 10 times now that I've rented different places to live with friends, by myself. And so that is a huge tick, and I just think that's really cool that that was one of mine, and now that has come to fruition tenfold. Number 10, join a book club. I was obviously really on my book hype and I really wanted to read more books. I haven't done this. Now I'm wondering, do I want to continue to do this? You know, I think I do, because I love reading, but I do find that sometimes I'm not very good at talking about books after I've read them, or I'll read a book and then I'll just move straight into the next one with no reflection on the book. And then when people ask me about it, they're like, oh, what did you think of this book? And I'm like, oh my God, I fucking loved it. It was the best book I've ever read. But I can't really articulate anything else after that. And so that's still gonna go on my list. Okay, 11 is actively campaign for animal rights. Absolute tick. So very shortly after this, I joined an animal rights group in Brisbane, Australia, and I did all of the things that you can imagine animal rights activists doing. Holding signs, going to slaughterhouses, getting on the news, finding trucks outside slaughterhouses and trying to stop the trucks from taking the animals in to kill them. So yeah, I can take that one off for sure. Number 12 was take a dance class. 21-year-old Polly did not know that Polly was going to go on to fall in love with pole dancing. I don't pole dance at the moment, and I wish I did. I need to find a studio near me. But pole dancing is my favorite thing in the entire world. I love it so much, and I'm so glad that I got to tick that one off. Number 13 was learn to play a song on the guitar. I actually did do this. I probably couldn't do it now, but in Australia, I was just trying loads of new things, clearly, based on this list. And I did learn to play songs on the guitar. I've actually got a video on my phone of me playing All the Pretty Girls by Kaleo on the guitar. So well done, Polly. 14 was work for a charity. Now, I did do this. Like, this is so insane to me. I went home after Australia and worked for a dog rescue for like 8 months. That was the last period of employment that I ever had. Is that true? No, that was the last like long period of employment I've ever had. After that, I did lots of short jobs to just fund my travels, and then I started my own business. So work for a charity, yes I did. Now number 15, this is so random, and this is not something I desire anymore, but it was get my IIN qualification. Now if you don't know what that is, I think it stands for the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. So it was basically like a health coaching certification, and I think I was just really obsessed with the idea of working online, and a lot of the people that I followed online were doing this and were health coaching as a means to run an online business. So this obviously felt like a great way to do that. I have no desire to do this anymore. I don't want to teach nutrition. Imagine me coaching you on doing nutrition. Imagine, that just doesn't make any sense. But I think this is a really good lesson. It's that sometimes you think you want things and it's okay to not want them anymore. Like, especially if you identify as someone who's very multi-passionate, who likes a lot of things, and you can get quite down on yourself about, God, I always start things and I never achieve them, or I start things and I never follow them through. I have so many hobbies that I'm like 10% good at rather than just sticking to one. But I think it's okay to try things and set goals and then not achieve them and realize that they're not aligned with you anymore. Like this, when I wrote this down, it obviously felt super aligned with me and it was something I really wanted. And now it's not. And that's fine. Like you're not committed to a goal just because you've written it down and you've said it for yourself. You're allowed to set goals for yourself, and then if you realize in 1 month, 2 months, 1 year's time that you no longer want them and you want something else, it's okay to move on to something different. Okay, halfway through. Number 16 was help my mum financially in some way. I haven't done that, and that is still definitely on my list. Number 17 is be able to do 10 pull-ups. This is on my goals list every year. I feel like every time I write my New Year's resolutions, it's be able to do 10 pull-ups. Every single year. The most I've ever been able to do is 5, and that was a random occurrence. I'd been doing pole dancing in New Zealand like 4 times a week for ages, and then I randomly went to this park, saw one of those like children's play things, like those, I don't know what they're called. You know when there's like bars? And I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna go and see how many pull-ups I can do, and I did 5. That was a long time ago. I definitely could not do 1 now, but I really want to be able to do 10 pull-ups, and not just because then I could bust out 10 pull-ups and I would look cool, although that is a part of it. It's just, I think we don't set goals because we want the thing. We want what we think that thing will bring us. And so it's not that I want to do 10 pull-ups. It's that if I'm somebody who can do 10 pull-ups, it means I've been working out a lot. It means I'm strong. It means I've been taking care of my body. It means I've been committed to something, because you don't just randomly wake up and do 10 pull-ups. You have to be able to commit for a long time, and it takes repetition and dedication to be able to do that. Like, all goals represent the type of person we want to be, and the goal is the destination, and you have to become the type of person who can achieve that goal. And that's almost the goal in and of itself. You know, like I don't care necessarily that I can do 10 pull-ups. It's like I want to be really fit and strong and healthy and taking care of my body. I don't know if I explained that right. In my mind, this point really makes sense, but perhaps it doesn't to you. 18 is have professional photos taken. And I think the reason I wanted to do this is because I was really trying to fall in love with my body again after such a long period of restrictive eating, dieting, going to the gym that I'd done prior to traveling. And then I went traveling and I stopped going to a gym as much, and I was really trying to, I guess, like recover. This is going to come in a minute from number 30. I think I was just really trying to fall in love with my body again after it had changed, after stopping going to the gym and stopping focusing so heavily on what my body looked like. And so I think, again, it's not the thing, it's the person you have to be to have this thing. Having professional photos taken represented me loving my body and feeling confident enough to be in front of a camera and have pictures taken of me. To be honest, I haven't done this yet, so this is still on the list for by the time I'm 30, and I am gonna keep this one. I think I could do this now. I just want, I don't know, maybe this is an excuse. I'm looking for like the right time or a right reason to do it, and I know that most of the time that isn't the right time, but this isn't like a huge thing, and this isn't a barrier to a goal that I say that I want. I just think it's a really cool thing to do, and I would like to do it. Maybe I'll do this for like my 30th birthday or something, or maybe I'll do it like next week, who knows. But I'm gonna keep that one on my list. Number 19 is see the Northern Lights. Have not done this yet. Still gonna keep it on my list because that's really fucking cool and I would like to do that. Number 20 is get a tattoo. Tick. I currently have 2 tattoos. I have one on my ribcage and one on my finger. Done it. Completed it. Love that. 21 is go to a festival. Now I had been to Glastonbury when I was 15, but I think I wanted to go to a festival as an adult, and I have done this. I haven't been to like a camping overnight, like multiple day festival since Glastonbury. I'm actually gonna try and get Glastonbury tickets for next year, but I have been to multiple day festivals, so this was a massive tick. Number 22, this is so cute, is learn about politics and feminism. I think that is a massive tick. Like, I think over the past few years, I've definitely spent more time learning about the intricacies of feminism and politics. I just wanted to be, it's always been women's rights and being a woman and understanding the political climate has always been something I was passionate about, or always something that I wanted to know enough about that I could have conversations about, but I never did. I definitely still don't feel like an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but women's rights, feminism, it's something that I feel relatively well versed on now, although definitely, again, not an expert, and something that I will continue to learn about. They're my favourite books. Any fiction with like a political feminist angle, that's my favourite book to read. So if you have recommendations for that. Anyway, okay, now we've got a few that I haven't done. So number 23 is foster or adopt a puppy. Or a dog. I don't know why I wrote puppy because I definitely won't adopt a puppy. I haven't done that, clearly, and I am going to take this off of my list only because I think when I was 21, I obviously thought that by 30 I will be settled down enough to want to adopt a dog and like have enough structure in my life to have a dog. Now I'm 27, I absolutely don't think that in 3 years' time I'm gonna have enough structure and stability in my life to actually adopt a dog. One day, maybe this will go in my 40 by 40 list. Hopefully by 40 I'll have enough structure to have a dog, or maybe I'll just get a dog and travel the world with my dog. So yeah, I'm gonna take that off the list. 24, this is random, do a yoga retreat. So not only did I want to do my yoga teacher training, but I also wanted to do a retreat. I'm taking that off the list. I haven't done that, but I'm kind of fine with that, and I do enough yoga that I don't necessarily need to go to a retreat. And yeah, I'm taking that off the list. 25 is cut my hair short and give it to charity. That's so random. Why did I think that was like iconic enough to make my 30 before 30 list? I have cut my hair multiple times since then, like short. I've definitely had above shoulder length hair. The only thing is I've never been able to give it to charity because it has to always be your natural hair color. I'm definitely going to take that off the list because that was so random and I just don't really care about that anymore. But that's so funny. Okay, number 26 is go fully raw vegan for a month to see how it feels. Again, kind of random. I am vegan. To be honest, right now, I don't really have any desire to do that or care to do that. So I'm going to take that off the list. Did not achieve that, but that's no longer going on my 30 before 30 list. Okay, we're nearly at the end. Number 27, and this again is like a nice little full circle moment. Earn money from something I've created. Absolutely, I have done that. I have created courses, I have created ebooks, I have created content that has made me money. This is a real insight into where I was in my life right then, like right at the beginning of figuring out what to do career-wise, like right before I'd ever tried anything. It's real cool. There's a real innocence to that. Just earn money from something I've created. So that's a huge celebration. 28 is make a difference in someone's life. That's so nice. And immediately, so when I first read that, because I read this one before, I thought, okay, that's gonna have to stay on the list for next year. But then I thought about the amount of people that had bought the things that I'd made over the years and said how much it helped them, and the amount of DMs that I've gotten saying, oh my God, this made my day, or thank you so much for this, or even like the comments, like a random TikTok comment saying, thank you, this helped me get out of bed this morning. That is making a difference in someone's life, you know? It doesn't have to be this humongous overhauling influence, but I think we forget how much influence we can have. And I would proudly say that I have done that. So that's a big tick. Number 29, mum, if you're listening to this, stop listening now. She definitely is not listening to this podcast, so that's fine. Number 29 was try MDMA. I think obviously 21-year-old Polly had never tried any form of class A drug. I'd heard a lot of good things about it. Like that seemed, I'd heard that was like the fun party one. I had a boyfriend at 18 and we were very serious and neither of us were like going out and taking drugs. And so I think something I was like, oh, I really need to try this before I'm 30. Let me tell you, that one is a big tick. And number 30, completely different vibe, and this is a huge one, was conquer binge eating. I won't go hugely into this now because this kind of deserves its own episode if it ever gets one. I have experienced from basically my entire adulthood an unhealthy relationship with food restriction and binge eating, and it is something that has very heavily, it has been a heavy cloud, it has been a thick dark cloud that has come with me throughout my entire adulthood, and it is something that I am still working on, but it is far better now than it was when I wrote this. I think when I wrote this it was I was quite in the trenches with it still, which is obviously why I wrote that, because I thought, damn, by 30, I really want to have this under wraps. And I'm going to keep that on my list. I haven't completely learned how to deal with it yet. Maybe it will be a lifelong journey and maybe I won't take that off by the time I'm 30, and that's okay. If I don't, then that is one of the ones where it's okay. So that was my 30 before 30 list. I've got 3 more years. This is my 27th birthday. There's only 8, so that was pretty good. So I ticked off, out of that list, I ticked off that things that I've completed, 17. That's huge. Things that I'm taking away because I'm no longer interested in and I just they just aren't relevant to me anymore are 6. So 6 of them I've just been like, absolutely not. And then I've still got 8 left to achieve from that original 21 years old, 30 before 30 list. I'll remind you of the ones that I'm keeping on my list. See Taylor Swift, help my mum financially, do 10 pull-ups, get a professional photo shoot done, see the Northern Lights, conquer binge eating, do my yoga teacher training, and join a book club. Those are the extra ones that I'm gonna carry over. I am gonna write my 30 before 30 27 edition today, and I'm gonna keep that in a notepad somewhere for next year. But a few takeaways from this. One, and I kind of touched on this, is sometimes you won't achieve some things, and sometimes you will fall out of love with a certain goal that you set yourself to achieve, and that's okay. Like, you have no obligation to stick at one path, to stick at one goal, to like the same things that you've always liked, to want the same things that you've always wanted. You're a human being, so much changes all of the time. You can like whatever you want. But I guess on the other side of that, your desires don't change as much as you think they will. When people are trying to figure out what they want to do with their career, I think career mainly, but it's other things as well. Very common advice is, what did you like to do when you were a child? Or what did you like to do when you were younger? And sometimes I think that's terrible advice, because it's like, okay, but I was a kid then, like I've changed so much. But then I read these lists, and I read my journals that I've written 6 years ago, and I'm a different person. I feel like, or my outward expression, like my life is so different now than it was then. But so many of my desires and the things that I like are still the same. Like the Taylor Swift thing, the dancing, like I wanted to do a dance class. I'd never danced before in my entire life. Well, I danced when I was a kid, I did ballet, but to be honest, I didn't particularly like it that much. Like yoga teacher training, the reading, the waste free. I'd never looked at this list. Like I wrote this list at 21, sent the notepad home, and it's been sitting under my bed until now. I haven't been referring to this list and trying to plan my life accordingly and plan what I'm going to do next based on this list. But somehow I've managed to tick off 75% of the things that I said I wanted to do without even knowing them and without even needing to be reminded, like, oh, I wanted to do that. And I think that goes to show that the things that you do want naturally, the things that you're gravitated towards, even if they don't really make sense, like the dance class, that didn't make any sense. I'd never danced before. I wasn't a dancer. Why did I want that? But then I randomly, a few years later, began pole dancing, and it became the love of my life, like the hobby that brings me the most joy ever. And so if you're not sure what you want, a really good place maybe to start is what you've always wanted, or things that have always come up for you. I've got 2 more things that I want to say before I leave, because I feel like this has been a really long episode and you've been strong to get through this. In the micro, things can seem like they aren't progressing. Like this year, my career has felt like it's at a standstill. Things have felt so slow. I feel like I have not been doing anything. I've been so hard on myself, like the self-judgment that I have been putting upon the way that I have been moving has been insane. And I think things in the micro, and by micro I maybe mean like in the year or in like months, especially where we set weekly goals and monthly goals and quarterly goals and yearly goals. And I think like in those short-term stints, it can really feel like we're not progressing and we're really not making progress in the things that we say that we want. But then you look back at things in like 5-year spans and you can see how much progress you actually have made. And so I think that's really important, and that's probably my biggest takeaway from this, is even though I felt like I haven't been progressing and I feel like, why am I not moving faster? Why is this not working? Etc, etc. But then you look back and I'm like, okay, everything that I said that I wanted, I'm doing. Like so many of the things that I want, I've achieved, and that's huge. And so just reminding yourself of that sometimes, and if you can find a way to just constantly come back to the macro. You know, it's that quote of, we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10 years. So don't focus so much on the 1 year. Just know that the things that you do every day, even if it doesn't feel like you're making progress in the moment, progress is compounding. And in 5 years, you might not recognize your life. If you keep doing the things now that feel like maybe you're not progressing, in 5 years, things might have progressed so much you won't even recognize yourself in the best way. And the last thing that I think is so important to admit is that we're never fully happy. Like, you're never gonna be fully content with your life, and I think that is the human condition. Like, when we have things, we want more things. We say that we want things, and then when we get them, we want other things. And I think that is just life. Like, I wrote this list at 21 thinking that once I've achieved them, that is my life complete. Like, I thought, these 30 things, if I can do every single one on this list by the time I'm 30, everything will be perfect with my life. And you know what I did? As soon as I went through this list and ticked off 75% of them, I started brainstorming ideas for the next list of 30 things that I wanted to make sure I've achieved by the time I'm 30. And so it's no longer 30 before 30, it's 60 before 30. And next year it'll be 90. Do you know what I mean? And I think I used to, and I still do sometimes, I'm still hard on myself, like, why can I never be content? Why do I always want more? Like, I set these goals and then I achieve them and then I still want something else. And I used to be quite hard on myself about that. But I think I'm learning now that that is just being a human. Like, we get things and then we want more things, and I think that's fine. I think it's fine to always be moving the goalpost and to be always wanting more. I think that's fine. But I think you can be content and still want more. Maybe that's the lesson. Be content with knowing that you're still you're going to be working towards things for the rest of your life. The goalpost is going to continue to move regardless of how much you achieve. So know that if you're not content now, or you can't be content in the journey right now, you're probably not going to be content with the end goals either. Because so many of these things that I said that I wanted, start an online business, I've done. Am I content with it? Absolutely not. Like, I want loads more. I still don't feel successful and I want more for myself. So many of these things I've got, but I want more now. You know, set the goals, keep working towards them, but know that life is what happens when you're working towards those goals. And so just like be able to be content. Like, we just want to be able to be content on the journey rather than reserving contentment and fulfillment and happiness for when you achieve the destination, because that ain't gonna happen. Okay, I guess I'll see you next year with the 30 before 30 28 edition, and then you can find out what I've written on my list for 28 and see how much progress we make next year. God, I don't know if that was an interesting episode or not. Oh, the postman just came. Anyway, thanks for listening. Love you loads. Happy birthday to me.